Here we see Matt Damon and Batman run the all-new Ocean's 5.5. But where else would you see that besides The Rift? And if you want to talk about it, sit down, let's have a drink. In this movie, we get to see Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and the rest of the Den of Thieves crew as corrupt cops. Corrupt cops who take on crime tips on drug houses. They then raid these drug houses and keep a little bit of the drug money they find for themselves. Whenever they do this little fiasco and go to hit a drug house and steal the money from there, well, they call it a rip. Honestly, just from the title, I had a feeling this movie wasn't going to be all that. I mean, The Rip. I can hear the action voice movie trailer guy every time I see it. I also have no idea why Netflix decided to stack this cast from beginning to credits, knowing damn well we weren't going to get an Oscar-nominated movie. But, like always, I've got pros and I've got cons. Let's get to the pros, shall we? Honestly, this one's a weird pro, but I feel like crime movies haven't been all that lately. Or at least haven't really been around. And honestly, sometimes a little crime is needed, so I have to appreciate them for coming straight forward with such a beloved genre. I mean, mid-last year we got caught stealing, but I can't really remember anything besides that since probably The Irishman. Absolutely none of these actors belong in a crime movie besides Matt Damon and Tiana Taylor. And I thought Catalina Moreno in there as well, but I think it was passable for what the movie was. And I mean, the situation itself was fairly interesting as well. I mean, a heist goes wrong. Well, fuck me, that's gotta be more original than potato chips. Okay, all sarcasm aside, obviously it wasn't anything new. But it did give us enough tension to get the green light for a 9,575th time. But even though this idea has been done more often than the time that you've seen that joke that keeps coming up when you're real, but every time you see it, it's a new person but the same joke, I still have to put the beginning of this movie down in this section. This movie completely opened up guns blazing. Literally. Now we start off with some detective chick who's battling two masked Terminators with a shotgun. And I'm not sure why exactly, but I just really felt the action pack in that moment. Maybe it was because it was the beginning of the movie, I just got sucked in immediately. What we didn't have to go through was a 9-character intro like every other heist movie. It was a very intense gun battle. Short, but intense. Honestly, it looked like one of those Nerf commercials, but with real bullets. And actual deaths. It was a good way to start the movie, but I do wish that they kept that energy throughout. That being said, I'm going to skip my entire middle and just get to the ending here because that was probably my next favorite segment. There were more twists in this movie than round 21 of Bop It. And you know it's a good twist when you get a little gasp out there. I mean, when's the last time you've had a good gasp? Go ahead, have a gasp. Now, none of these twists actually ever changed the trajectory or the mood of the movie, but for being such a simple movie, at least it wasn't predictable. Alright, if the middle of the rip was just as good as the beginning and the end, then maybe I have a lot better things to say about the movie. But, unfortunately, I don't. So, let's get on to the cons. Alright. Tiana Taylor, Matt Damon, Steven Yeun, Catalina Moreno, Scott Adkins, the list literally goes on. Literally, it goes on. So for me to have to put acting down as a con in this section really hurts my non-existent soul. I don't know what was up with him, but Matt Damon had exactly zero emotional output that entire movie. It was like watching somebody stay-at-home dad audition, and he's terminally ill. And then we have Ben Affleck, who believes that the best way to play a hardened, tough, and corrupt cop is to just yell every single line given to you. If he actually started rhyming any single one of his words, he would have been a splitting image of 6ix9ine. And please don't get me started on Steven Yeun. If Steven Yeun can pull off Dirty Cop, then I can pull off Jesus. Our famed Walking Dead hero just didn't sell any piece of his role to me. Honestly, he's really just got that face that you feel bad for. Like a puppy trying to rob a Kmart. Honestly, Tiana Taylor was the only one I really believed. And she was also the only one I truly enjoyed. But she only had 6 minutes worth of screen time, so call it a quickie. Truly, I got most of my disappointment from Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. It honestly felt like they were just there because they got paid just enough to do it. Like they were just filling in roles, really. But S-tier actors, D-tier performances. Alright, if I had to be honest, that could be a good part due to the writing. This shit feels like it was made by an AI. That took over the computer chip of a Redbox. In Baltimore. I honestly have no words for how awful the writing was here. Shitful. There you go. It was shitful. None of the dialogue here was engaging at all. It honestly just felt like a bunch of characters yapping at each other. It felt much like being at a barbecue, but you only know that one person, and that one person goes to talk to another person and leaves you alone to mingle. All you're hearing is a bunch of inside jokes around you that you don't really understand. Every conversation piece between 2 or more characters, at least up until the ending, was just boring as all hell. Honestly, that's a lot. How's not that boring? I'm talking Caillou level comprehension. Alright, spoiler alert. There's a scene where Matt and Ben, as corrupt cops, are trying to interrogate a woman about the cash that may be in her house. And they're playing it very tough. Bad cop, bad cop. Now with this regular woman who seemingly doesn't even have a job, tells our corrupt cops, well, technically this isn't her house. And then we see Matt and Ben's characters completely fold. And she basically wins that little exchange of legal banter, as mentioning that little loophole seems to collapse their entire argument for illegally seizing millions of dollars within her house. It was honestly the laziest conversation I've ever seen since that one episode of SpongeBob where the only way they could speak was by spitting at each other. I mean, 1 minute she's getting tricked by police with fake warrants, and then the moment she gets interrogated, she turns into Atticus Finch. Okay, the worst thing that you can couple bad writing with is bad cinematography. Imagine having an ass director and an ass writer all in one movie. Shitful. Now, I never really care about production value enough to list it as a pro or a con. But, oh my devil, this was so awful. The lighting in this movie was about as good as my bathroom. It was like being outside, pitch black 3 AM, but the only light that you have is the little blue one at the bottom of your PS5 controller. Also, every single shot here is a close-up face shot, to the point where I was able to read the Morse code in between Ben Affleck's pores. No wild shots, no establishment shots, just no uniqueness in the entire movie. Probably because they sent their entire budget into paying the stacked cast of actors, and then were forced to shoot using the director's house. Shitful. Alright, it seems like I pinned a fork in this one, but it really wasn't all that bad. It just was extremely disappointing. If they didn't decide to stack the cast as if it's the last movie that the world is going to see, well then maybe I'd give it a higher score. Well, I'll call it an okay watch. It's one of those movies you could throw on the TV where something needs to be on in the background, but you know no one really needs to pay attention to it. I will also say it's probably a more fun watch if you're not a soulless movie critic. Otherwise, watch out for lazy acting, lazy writing, and lazy production. And that all together, you're going to get a score of 5.5 out of 10. Maybe if they gave us Adrian Brody and Idris Elba instead of Matt and Ben, I would have given this movie 2 more points. That being said, if you want to watch an absolutely fantastic heist movie where the perpetrators start turning on each other during the Battle of Trust, well, I will recommend the classic movie Reservation Dogs. But I want to know what you think about The Ring. Talk to me in the comments.